If you have a footloose and fancy-free feline, well, things might be about to change. Mary Beck could become the next council to lock up cats around the clock with a very strict 24-hour confinement rule on the cards. Do you agree with this, and do you think more councils should be thinking about introducing cat curfews? Dr Euan Ritchie is a Professor of Wildlife Ecology and Conservation at Deakin University and joins you now. Hello, Euan. Welcome.
G'day, Brigitte.
What do you think about this idea that the cats kept locked up for 24 hours?
I think it's a fabulous idea. I think it's great for cats and their health and their well-being and their long-term survival chances. It's great for our native wildlife, and it's also great for human health.
It is great for native wildlife. There is no doubt about that. How is it good for a cat, though? Is it healthy for them to be indoors for 24/7?
They don't necessarily have to be indoors, obviously. If there's a catio or a cat run where they're contained, but they can still be outside in the fresh air, then they are technically still outside. But there have been studies that have looked at how happy cats are, and also dogs, in fact, whether they're outside or not. Dogs definitely need to be outside. Cats actually showed not very much evidence of a need for that. And so we know that cats that are contained can live up to 10 years longer than cats that are allowed to roam, but on average many years longer. And that's because they're not going to end up having a fight with a dog. They're not going to get run over. They're not going to get stuck on a fence or impaled by a fence. All of these tragic and horrible things happen to people's pets. And I'm sure we've all driven along the street and seen signs of someone's cat that's missing and how traumatic that must be.
Yeah.
If your cat is contained, they're happier, they're healthier, and again, as I said, there's all these benefits for wildlife and also for human health. Cats can spread disease, including toxoplasmosis, which can cause abortion. So there's really, really good reasons for containing our cats.
I suppose, though, they are all good reasons, some of which I wasn't aware of, but what about exercise? They do need exercise, don't they? Everyone needs exercise, every animal.
Look, absolutely, but, if you've got enough room inside your dwelling where you live. I realise some people don't have big houses, obviously, but, as long as you're stimulating your cat in some way, whether it's throwing a ball, using one of those little laser pointers that they love chasing, some sort of activity that is making them physically active but also challenging them mentally as well, so they're stimulated, that's really all you need. And cats are not like dogs, so dogs, many dog breeds need to go for a run, they're essentially have evolved to sort of have endurance. Cats are not at all like that. So they really do have different requirements in terms of exercise compared to dogs.
You're hearing from Dr Euan Ritchie, Professor of Wildlife Ecology, Conservation at Deakin Uni. We're talking about proposals for cat curfews, 24 hours locked up, not allowed out. What do you think? 1300 222 774. Elizabeth joins us. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, Brigitte. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What do you think?
Look, I've got very divided opinions on this. I think a cat curfew is a good idea, but I do think that it's not generally the domestic cats that are killing wildlife. It's all the strays and the potentially feral cats out there. I'm actually a foster carer, and I've got 12 foster cats at the moment, a mother who had 6 babies and another 5 bottle babies that I'm feeding. And the issue of those, they don't come from a domestic cat. Do you know what I mean? Like, it should be an issue about the feral cats and the stray cats.
Okay. Well,
let's
go to Dr Euan Ritchie on that, Elizabeth, because I'm interested to hear. Euan, what do you think? Is that true, or do you think it's not just feral cats, that domestic cats are guilty?
With respect to Elizabeth, and I appreciate sort of where she's coming from, but it's simply not true. So there's been studies looking at domestic and owned cats, and they're capable of killing many animals a night as they're roaming around, even when they're being fed by their owners. In some cases, we've sort of seen about an average of about 190 animals per year per cat. So this idea that someone's owned cat that's being fed is not out killing wildlife is simply not true. And we've looked at that by having tracking devices on cats. And in many cases, cats have gone several kilometres from their home despite their owners not knowing any better. And they don't often bring back what they kill. So you're simply unaware of what they're killing. So it really does show from the science that owned cats, as well as stray cats and also feral cats, they're all capable of killing native wildlife, and there's plenty of native wildlife in our cities that we want to protect.
Okay. Marion joins us from Hawthorn. G'day, Marion.
Oh, hello.
What do you think on the cat curfew?
Well, I can't wait for them to bring in a cat curfew.
Yeah. Do you have cats yourself?
No, I don't. My neighbour's cat comes over into my garden often.
Okay, and you don't like it. You're worried about them being out there.
Well, it goes to a toilet in my front garden and then I stand in it.
Yeah.
And I have fish in the back garden.
Okay, so you want them locked up, Marion. Okay, let us know what you think. 1300 222 774. Cats and curfews, 24-hour curfews. What do you think? So now we learn from you, Dr. Euan Ritchie, that cats are okay to stay in confinement. They don't need exercise like a dog or outdoors like a dog. Why aren't we moving on this more quickly, do you think? Why aren't more councils jumping on?
Look, I think it's partly, I guess, culture. You know, we've sort of for a long time thought that it is okay for our cats to roam around. And, of course, now we've learnt that that's really not a great idea for our cats, but also for wildlife. And so we're sort of changing our perspective on that, and that's a great thing. I think resourcing is really important, making it easier for people to install cat runs or catios and so forth in their houses and dwellings is going to be really, really important.
Is that expensive? An expensive thing to do, though, to get a catio?
Look, it can be relatively cheap. You know, if you've got let's say you've got a courtyard and you've got a fence, and you can basically install some netting that sort of goes on top of the fence that sort of stops the cat from jumping over. That can be a relatively cheap solution, but it really just depends on your particular circumstance, where you live in terms of how big an area you want to have for your cat and what you're sort of facing, I guess, with, the fence and brickwork and so forth in terms of what you might have to set up. So, and I guess that's really a discussion about people choosing the right pet too, So if you're not able to take care of your pet the right way, then maybe think about other options for pets. People don't tolerate or shouldn't tolerate dogs running around in people's backyards unrestrained. And likewise, we don't or shouldn't do the same with cats. So I think there's a lot of education that needs to occur too about, why this is beneficial for your cat, why it's beneficial for wildlife, but again, as I said, also for human health too.
Yeah. Okay, Romeo joins us. He's in Ivanhoe. Hello, Romeo.
Hello, how are you?
Good. What do you think about the cat curfews?
Well, the cat curfew, look, if they're going to put a curfew, then maybe they should actually put it in the building code, and so that all new buildings have an enclosed area for the animals, and not just for cats, for dogs and anything. Not
a bad idea, Romeo. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Whereabouts do you live? What sort of building?
I live in a home up in Greensborough. But,
yeah.
And it's lovely, but it's having an enclosed area so that the fences would be somehow prepared as part of a building code to prevent the animals from leaving.
Yeah, good idea, Romeo. Thank you for your thoughts. Elsie, what about you?
Oh, hi. Look, cat curfews, it's hard to enforce a cat to come in at a certain time. So the idea of a catio, if you do own a cat, if you need outside areas, is actually a really good idea, or buy an aviary. But at the same time, too, those of us that have got farms, we really need our cats for the vermin that's out here. And I have a group of cats, and they're all desexed, and some are quite old. And I rarely ever see them catch a bird. They don't wander, because if you have a number of cats, like not just one or two, if you have a group of cats, so between 6 and 8, they actually stay in one spot because they do like their own company, and they do a really good job on rats and mice.
Well, interested to know what you think about cats in the country. Is that a different thing altogether, Euan?
Look, cats are capable, of course, of eating mice, and I understand why some people want to have them on their rural properties, but I think it's really important to remember that, again, you don't necessarily see what your cat is killing, not just the mice, but other native wildlife. And there's a whole range of native predators, whether they be snakes, whether they be goannas, kookaburras, all sorts of birds, quolls in different parts of Australia. All of those animals are really good at eating native rodents. And a lot of those native animals are also killed by cats. So there's actually native solutions available if we can get cats out of the way in terms of killing native wildlife.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is you think people are sort of turning a bit of a blind eye to what they really are doing when they're out and about.
Look, absolutely. And I think, we're not trying to point the finger at people. I think what's really important is education and making people understand that, cats are wonderful pets if we take care of them properly, and there's nothing wrong with having a cat. but we need to be aware of the impacts they can have and just manage that.
All right, so we've got Mary Beck considering it. How many councils are actually got how many have actually got cat curfews in place now, Euan?
Yeah, well, I actually look at myself, and I think, according to what I can find online, there's 10 councils that have a 24-hour cat curfew, and about 27 or so that have a sunset to sunrise curfew, and another 17 thinking about it. I think the really important point for a lot of people to realise is that cats can not only, find and kill wildlife at night time, but they can easily do that during the day as well. So things like lizards, which come out and bask in the sun, frogs as well, small mammals, birds that are all active during the day, and many, of course, also active at night, are all affected by cats. And so that's why a 24-hour curfew is really important.
Great. Dr Euan Ritchie, Professor of Wildlife, Ecology and Conservation at Deakin Uni, thanks so much for chatting to us today.
My pleasure, thank you.
And let's hope that they do get the vote to go ahead. Greg is in at Lakes Entrance. Greg, what's your feeling on the cat curfew?
I think it should have come in years ago. I can remember as a teenager growing up on Western Port Bay, lovely rural town, bandicoots still wandering around. People move in with their pet cats. There's no bandicoots there now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you've seen the damage firsthand, Greg?
I've seen the damage firsthand, yes.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you very much for your call. Gavin adds that, hi, Bridge, we have a solar-powered electric fence on our fence top that gives a really mild zap. Cat touched it once years ago and hasn't left the yard since. Highly recommends. He thinks the ping string has saved the lives of his cats. So, Gavin, thank you for that.